Okay, Dreamcast fans, we've got a treat for you today. We've got the Bliss-Box Bridge now. It's pretty much fully working on the Dreamcast. I'm going to go ahead and show you a tool here made by Artanio. This 240 test suite is actually pretty handy tool. But just to show two aspects of it, there's a device list, which shows you basically your controllers, and you can see Bliss-Box reports as Bliss-Box Bridge. And then I also have a Dreamcast controller plugged in. And then there's a controller test utility. Kind of shows you all your outputs. Interesting thing here, I have a pippin controller connected. An interesting thing about the pippin controller is not only is the controller the same color, and basically the buttons all the same color with the exception of blue and green, the layout's the same. So this controller is a very good substitute, and not only that, it has a mouse. So you can switch back and forth by looking at the screen here. I hold all the four buttons down and then press down, again, down, and now we're a mouse. Now it treats the L and the R triggers on top, or buttons, depending on what you want to use, and the start button as the buttons, and then of course you can move around with the mouse. And if you wanted to go back, you hit all four buttons again and press up. And now we're a gamepad again. So let's go into Dream Shell here and let's talk more about this. Now there are some things to look forward to. One interesting thing, if you play a mouse game on the Dreamcast, it's for like Quake or something like that. It's kind of useless without another device. So Dreamcast expects you to plug in a controller or a keyboard. The problem with that is this controller can only plug into one port at a time, so the only option we have is to throttle back and forth from mouse to controller, which will work, but you're going to miss a frame of lag every time you do that, and that's not what most people want to do. Okay, so you can see that in Dream Shell, running in controller mode, it's very weak, as it would be. But if we go into mouse mode, now we're working like a mouse. And this just is much easier to use. Now you're limited on your buttons here, so if you try to load a game, let's go to a list of ROMs. We can't scroll. So to fix that, you have another controller connected, or go back to controller mode, and now we can scroll through the list. And to do that, you have to hold down a button and then use the analog stick. And then we can go back to mouse mode, or you can just load the game from here. And then we can go to mouse mode. Alright, so the game's loading, so let's go into the mouse mode. Alright. Okay, so now we have Quake. And this game does want you to set up multiple controllers, as I was saying earlier. So the game itself isn't really usable with just a mouse. Now you can, of course, you can play this game in controller mode, and we can demo the two if I don't get beaten too badly here. And there is a product that we're considering making called a blender that will allow one controller to act as two. Which that may be an option moving forward here. But at this time, it's still advised to use two separate controllers. So, let's see if I figure out what's going on here. Got rapid fire on. Alright, anyways. So here we are, we're running the game. Now it's kind of hard to use because on the pippin controller, you really got to spin that thing to turn around, which obviously isn't ideal. So let's go to mouse mode. Now it's a lot easier to play the game. but we can't move because we don't have another controller plugged in. But it's neat that you can switch in and out of controller in mouse mode at any time that you want here. But okay, so now we're in mouse, or we're in controller mode again, and now we can move around, but you can't use your mouse. So it would be very interesting if we could get one controller to work on 2 ports. So that might be something to look forward to, and we'll experiment with throttling the 2 controllers back and forth on 1 port, which you can do on the Dreamcast, and just see how it handles. I'm not even sure that's going to work out too well. But there we go. So mouse mode, if you have an obvious mouse connected like a paddle, it'll give you that one axis. It's going to force that mode. And you can go in and out of that mode if you have the buttons. So for controllers, you can treat a controller as a mouse if you want to, but since Dreamcast supports the analog controller, there's really no point. But the ability is there. And again, that's all 4 face buttons up to go into controller, or all 4 face buttons and down to go into mouse. But there you have it. That is mouse emulation running on the Dreamcast. Thanks for watching.